Hey guys, Josh here for the DVRT Ultimate Sandbag Core Training System. One of the biggest questions we get is with over 400 exercises in our DVRT system, which ones do I start with? As a basic principle, we're going to work building a foundation of stability into more unstable and more complex patterns. That means I'm going to work from a stronger base and stronger holding positions as I get more proficient through the system. So what are some of the exercises I recommend? So for this video, we're going to try to break down most of those exercises for you so you understand their benefit and the fact they'll always be a foundation to your fitness training. The first exercise we're going to look at is actually a front hold squat. I love the bear hug position, but if you're not using a larger USB, it can be a little bit cumbersome and people go into flexion when they wrap their arms around the USB. Therefore, just about everyone can benefit from using any USB in the front hold position. Remember, this isn't a front squat. It's a front hold, similar to your front plank position for core stability. Therefore, I recommend you start doing these exercises with a very slow eccentric count. So I'm going to have to go ahead and grab my neutral grip handles, power clean the USB into place. What I want to do is I want to keep pressure against the USB the entire time as I descend deep into the squat. Notice how I don't let my arms flex forward, making more stress in my arms than my trunk. I also don't elevate my shoulders to have my arms fatigued before my legs. I pull in towards my body, pull my shoulders down and back, go as deep as I can, and accelerate back up. That's a really awesome position, especially as you slow down the eccentric. As far as actually learning to clean, a great exercise we love to teach is the high pull. We've talked quite a bit about that. It keeps the weight close to the body. Because we're moving up and down quite quickly, this can be challenging for a lot of people. I'm teaching that hip hinge pattern. I don't want to squat. So if you're finding yourself have to maneuver your arms away from your knees, you're beginning to squat and not hip hinge in the DVRT system. Also to note, when you start using larger USBs, you have a longer pull, so be ready to quickly decelerate on the way down. You don't want to hang out to get a rebound. So grabbing our neutral grip handles again, because we want that nice open shoulder position. Grab onto our handles, rotate our arms back, explode up to the heels, right back up and down. You see how I don't hang out at the top and I'm pushing through those heels every time. I want to imagine getting nice and tall, have my elbows drive nice and high. The other reason I love this exercise is it teaches us the correct components so that we can clean, we can snatch, and we can shoulder in later DVRT programs. Now that we've done a high pull, a great slow exercise that really enforces a lot of similar principles is that bent over row. We've talked quite a bit about the bent over row lately because I think people skip over it. The bent over row, I keep my weight back in my heels. It's that same hip hinge. So I'm working on isometrically holding that hip hinge. I have a front plank going into my midsection. Now I'm going to pull the USB into my body. And I want to slowly come down. The great thing about teaching what's happening at the upper back position is the fact I have to teach holding the shoulders down back for when I do cleans. I do high pulls, clean and presses, snatches, and anything more explosive. If I don't have control in the upper back, I'm going to have problems when I do more complex movements. The nice thing is with a bent over row, you can never really outgrow it. I can change how I stand. I can change how I grip it. With all these different handle options, I have many different ways to make the bent over row more challenging. So now let's go to a clean and press. The clean and press usually screws people up because when I press to go overhead, I always want the USB to be on my fist if I'm using a strength or a burly USB. If I'm using a power or core USB, I generally want to grab those outside handles so I'm in proper shoulder alignment. I never want my hands much outside or inside my shoulder position. So if you do not clean the USB properly and have your hands in nice and close, you don't want to press it. The clean and press is going to teach us how to develop force from the ground, stabilize to the trunk, and finish with correct shoulder and thoracic mobility. So again, I'm going to grab that neutral grip position. It's going to allow me to have a nice safe position for my shoulders as well. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the bag to my fist. So my hands should be relatively in line with my shoulders. I'm going to push through my heels, lock those legs, squeeze those glutes, press over the crown of my head, and slowly pull it down. Now I can re-clean, press, and then slowly come down, feeling as though I'm using the underarm to pull the weight back in position. That allows me to work a lot of my core stability, and because I'm not going to have the weight evenly distributed in my hands, I'm going to really have to work on using the lower body, midsection, and upper body all together. The next drill we're going to look at is a rotational high pull. The rotational high pull is a great exercise because it starts to introduce that rotational component but keeps the weight close to us. So anytime we change the plane of motion, and the transverse plane of rotation is one of the most difficult, we try to make the weight easier for us. So one way of doing that is keeping the weight closer. So by pivoting one foot, that's the hardest action, is pivot one foot. Just think about going just outside that knee. I'm going to hinge back on my hip, explode, and quickly transition to the other side. Explode, transition to the other side. Back and forth. It's a great exercise to teach you a very functional pattern in both acceleration and deceleration. I hope some of these exercises helped you, giving you a starting point with our DVRT Ultimate Sandbag Training System. Next week, we'll approach a few more. We'll also show you how to develop a program so that you can get started on your road to success with the DVRT program and see the possibilities with this great fitness system. So check us out at dvrtfitness.com.